Hello, beautiful people. How we doing? Mic check, mic check. Shout out to everybody who's watching. Hit the like button if you would be so kind. Appreciate ya. Shout out to all the subscribers here on YouTube. Shout out to all the members here on YouTube and on Patreon and on Substack. And last but definitely not least, shout out to the best mod squad on the internet holding it down. We have a chat goal for super chats and the like and mods. If you could keep the links in rotation, I would appreciate it. I tomorrow am going to request a transcript for the oral argument hearing in Drake v. UMG because I realized I can do that now. It costs $9 a page. Okay, so keep those links in rotation. Let's get it up there. Hit that like button. We are gathered here today on day 2 of jury deliberations in the DIDDY trial because the jury has reached a partial verdict. As a reminder, count 1 is racketeering conspiracy. Count 2, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion pertaining to Cassie. Count 3, transportation to engage in prostitution pertaining to Cassie and commercial sex workers. Count 4, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion pertains to victim 2, Jane. Count 5, transportation to engage in prostitution pertains to victim 2, Jane, and commercial sex workers. Count 1 carries the heaviest penalty with a maximum sentence of life in prison. Counts 2 and 4 have a minimum sentence of 15 years and a maximum of life in prison. Count 3 and count 5 each carry a maximum sentence of 10 years. As of 19 minutes ago, the jury has reached a verdict on counts 2, 3, 4, and 5, but are unable to reach a verdict on count 1, and they have said that they do not believe that they will reach a verdict on count 1 because there are members of the jury that have unmovable positions on both sides. Guilty, not guilty. Okay? Don't worry, I'm going to go over all of this again and we're going to drill down into detail. Both the prosecution and the defense, this is the first time they have immediately agreed that they want the jury to continue deliberating. The judge is back on the bench and is working with the parties. This is typically how a note goes when the jury is asking a question or wants something. Okay, they send in their note. For example, earlier today, they sent in a note asking for very specific transcripts, excerpts from testimony during the trial, which let me know if they were going in order of their jury form, kind of where they were at in deliberations. But anyway, they send a note, they ask for specific information from transcripts. The prosecution comes up with what they think are the excerpts of the transcript. The defense comes up with what they think are the best excerpts of that. If there's a difference, the judge tells them to confer and see if they can agree. If they can't, they all discuss it with the judge, and then the judge ultimately decides what the language is going to be going back to the jury. Now, mind you, the jury has said there are people for guilty and not guilty on count 1 that have said they're not going to change their position. Nevertheless, the prosecution and the defense have agreed they want them to continue deliberating, and now they are in communication with the judge in the courtroom. DIDDY is there. Some of his family members are there to determine exactly what the language is going to be going back to the jury to encourage them to continue deliberating, even though they have said we're hung, essentially, on count 1. So I'm going to repeat all of that, okay? Count 1 is racketeering conspiracy. Count 2, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion pertaining to Cassie. Count 3, transportation to engage in prostitution pertains to victim 1, Cassie, and commercial sex workers. I'm sorry, let me start over. My eye caught something in the chat. Count 1, racketeering conspiracy. Count 2, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion related to Cassie. Count 3, transportation to engage in prostitution related to Cassie and commercial sex workers. Count 4, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion pertains to victim 2, Jane. And count 5, transportation to engage in prostitution pertains to victim Jane and commercial sex workers. So again, count 1 carries the heaviest penalty with a maximum sentence of life in prison. Counts 2 and 4 have a minimum sentence of 15 years and a maximum of life in prison. Counts 3 and 5 each carry a maximum sentence of 10 years. Both the prosecution and the defense have indicated, yes, continue deliberating. So they have reached a verdict on count 2, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion related to Cassie. That carries a minimum sentence of 15 years. They've reached a verdict on count 3 related to Cassie and commercial sex workers. That carries a maximum sentence of 10 years. They've reached a verdict on counts 4 and 5. 4 carries a minimum sentence of 15 years. Count 4 is sex trafficking by force related to Jane. Okay. And then count 5 maximum sentence of 10 years in prison. Okay. The judge and the lawyers are discussing how they will respond to the jury's note that they are unable to reach a verdict on one of the 5 counts. The judge said there's not much there in response to the defense team's proposed instruction, which is keep deliberating. He said simply telling the jury to keep deliberating would be non-responsive to their note expressing unpersuadable opinions as to count 1. The prosecution proposed giving the jury an Allen charge. An Allen charge is a set of instructions that ask jurors to re-examine their own views and opinions in order to reach a decision. Okay? Shout out to everybody who's watching. Hit that like button. Or let me reinterpret that, because I don't know that the jury, that the prosecution did ask for an Allen charge. Whatever it was that the prosecution suggested or recommended that the directions be back to the jury brought up a discussion of an Allen charge. And again, an Allen charge is a set of instructions that ask jurors to re-examine their own views and opinions in order to reach a decision. And the judge said that the government's proposal isn't really an Allen charge, but essentially reiterates the section of the jury instructions, that's 32 pages, regarding the duty to deliberate. Ultimately, the judge's directions back to the jury is 6 words. I ask that you keep deliberating. and then recite some of the lines about deliberations from his 32 pages of instructions. So not an explicit call for them to re-examine their own views and opinions in order to reach a decision, but a directive to keep deliberating per the instructions already outlined to them. Okay, I'm going to go over this a third time because I can see the number rising of people who have joined and are trying to find out what is going on. Hit the like button. That's what's going on. We've got 300 people here. No. Okay, the jury is in the courtroom. The judge is going to instruct them. So he's not sending a note back. They're in the courtroom. He's looking at them eye to eye, and he's going to instruct them as to their note and also tell them, because it's after 5 o'clock, that if they're done for the day and don't want to go through or past dinner, they can go back to the jury room and then send another note saying that they're done for the day. Shout out to everybody who's watching. Hit the like button. Make the mods happy. Make the mods happy. We've got 310 people in here and 151 likes. You're not a serious adult, and you can leave. We don't do that here.
Mr. Scott, open the door. Mr. Scott, now.
Okay. One more time for the people just joining. Hello, welcome. The jury in the Diddy case has reached a partial verdict that we're not going to get today. It doesn't sound like. But nevertheless, we have a great deal of information. And I had a feeling that this was the case when they sent this note as I was watching the updates come up online, because the remark about, so as every note has come up, there's been the remark about what people are doing in the courtroom has been like, oh, they're conferring, they're talking, da 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 da. When this note came back, the comment about what was happening in the courtroom was, all attorneys are surrounding Diddy. They have a very serious expression on their face. And I was like, verdict. So here we go. Okay. Jurors in the sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy trial of Sean Diddy Combs have notified the court that they have reached a verdict on counts 2, 3, 4, and 5, but are unable to reach a verdict on count 1. And they have expressed that there are people on both sides, guilty, not guilty, with related to count 1, who are immovable in their position, which we basically got a hint of yesterday when we heard that there was a juror number 25, who may not have been following the judge's directions. We had a conversation about that yesterday. We'll talk about it again after I finish this update. So again, they've reached a verdict on 2, 3, 4, and 5. There's 5 counts altogether, but not count 1, which is racketeering conspiracy. Where they have reached agreement is 2, 3, 4, and 5. Sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion related to Cassie. Transportation to engage in prostitution related to Cassie and commercial sex workers. Count 4, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion pertaining to Jane. Count 5, transportation to engage in prostitution pertaining to Jane as well. So counts 2 and 4 have a minimum sentence of 15 years and a maximum of life in prison. Counts 3 and 5 each carry a maximum sentence of 10 years. Count 1 carries the heaviest penalty with a maximum sentence of life in prison. The jury has received their instruction to keep deliberating, and they have left the courtroom. All right. Give me a second here. Thank you very much. Because I was like, how much? I'm sorry, how much are they? A page? Yeah, ridiculous. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. That's okay. Antoinette Williams, thank you for the $10 contribution. Welcome. September, thank you. Serotonin, thank you. Appreciate y'all. Have you started? Are you live right now on your channel? Because I'm the one giving it's kind of agreed upon that the chat doesn't do that, beloved. Thank you. Yep. Jury sent a note. It's done for the day. They'll continue tomorrow at 9:00. I can buy a page, right? Thank you, Quality. Appreciate you. Thank you, beautiful. Appreciate you. Swan asks, are the charges served simultaneously? That depends on the federal sentencing guidelines, okay, which I don't have memorized, and I did not have time in 19 minutes to look up to get an answer to your question. But there are some statutes that require consecutive sentences. Theoretically, he could face up to life in prison if the sentences are imposed consecutively versus concurrently. And again, I don't have enough information to give you an answer that I'm confident on. Okay. And I don't want to give you the incorrect information. But ultimately, I'm sure that information is going to start to spring up a little bit more now that we're getting very, very close. But I don't have it immediately at hand. Annalisa Kim, thank you for the $5 contribution. Island Girl, thank you. CJ Champer, thank you for the $10 contribution. Cassidy Collins, thank you for the $10 contribution. Eva, thank you. Thank you very much for the compliment and the $10 contribution. Annalisa, thank you for the additional $9 a page. What a racket. Yeah, I mean, I could wait 30 days, but it only goes down to like $6 a page, and I do need it, within 7 days so that I can do what I need to do. So, yeah, it's a racket. This is hilarious. Agua Flora, thank you for the $10 contribution. I would like to purchase whichever page has wop, 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 wop on it. Nickelodeon, thank you for the $5. I hope I answered this question about concurrent versus consecutive. For now, we'll come back to it, but that's what I have for you for now. Little bitty one, Diddy did this to himself. This is what he gets for thinking he was untouchable. Absolute power, whether real or imagined, corrupts absolutely. You ain't never lie. Dados down. I feel like I'm definitely Diaz. I pronounced that wrong. Diaz. Thank you for the $5 contribution. Stuck at the airport reading your book. I was about to say you bought the book. This is for the fund. Mobile super chats suck. Thank you, beautiful. I appreciate you. D boy, $10. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you, beautiful. Thank you for the $10 contribution. Autumn the Aries, thank you for the $10 contribution. I'll buy a page. Thank you. Thank you, beautiful. All right, so let's go back over and look at what else happened today. And look at who else. Let's look at the jury. Let's look at the other note that they sent today. Whoops. That's the wrong thing. I'm pretty sure I took a screenshot of this earlier when I saw it. Yes, I did. I'm so smart. But I don't need it right now. And then we'll talk. I'll answer your questions to the best of my ability. But this is what gave me an idea, again, if they were going in sequential order of the jury form that they had to fill out. This kind of gave me an idea of where they were. So at 10:15 Eastern this morning, they sent a note to the judge asking for several transcript sections. And I want you to know that it took 2 hours for the prosecution and the defense and the judge to agree on which sections to send them. 2 hours from the time the note was read in court to the time the information went back. 10 to 11, 11, 12 to, it might have been 3. But anyway, let's go with what they asked for. So they sent a note at 10:15 a.m. asking for several transcript sections. Cassie's testimony regarding the Intercontinental Hotel incident, her testimony concerning the events at Con and those that immediately followed, her testimony, if any, regarding interactions with Daniel Phillip, and I'll get to who Daniel Phillip is, and then Phillip's testimony regarding the Essex Hotel incident with Cassie. The parties are reviewing okay, so that was at 10:15. The judge said transcripts should be sent to the jury by 1 p.m. And that was at like 12:30, 12:45. So it took almost 3 hours, okay, once they got that question, for them to decide what excerpts they were going to send them that adequately addressed their request. Daniel Phillips testified on the first and second day of the trial. He is a mail review manager who testified early in the trial that he was paid between $700 and $6,000 to have intimate relationships with Cassie on several occasions. The jury also requested again testimony from Cassie regarding her interactions with him. He was one of the first witnesses to take the stand when the trial began. He testified not only about being paid for these interactions with Cassie, but also about an occasion when Cassie instructed him to defecate on her while Combs watched. Philip further testified that Combs recorded them on one or two occasions using a phone and a camcorder. During their first encounter in 2012, Philip testified that he went to a New York City hotel expecting to perform at a bachelorette party. Instead, he found only Cassie and a man wearing a mask whose voice he immediately recognized as Sean Combs. He said he received money from Cassie for their intimate interaction. He recounted an incident in which he testified that he saw Diddy shout at Cassie before dragging her by her hair into the bedroom. He said he heard Cassie screaming and repeatedly saying, "I'm sorry," while also hearing what sounded like Diddy slapping her. He said he did not report the incident because he feared for his life. Quote, "I was completely shocked and messed up in my head. There was nothing I could do," end quote. He testified, quote, "She was afraid. I could see she was afraid," end quote. So that was the note that they sent today. They sent a note yesterday. Is this the same one? They sent a note yesterday at the end of the day that the judge addressed this morning when they first came to court. And that note was related to distribution. They asked the question that if somebody who was at one of these incidents said, "Give me whatever drug," is that distribution? If the person asked for it, does that still constitute distribution? Again, both sides debated. The defense wanted one direction sent to the jury. The prosecution wanted another one. The judge ultimately sent a note to the jury saying, quote, "In response to the jury's question, the court refers the jury to page 37. I guess it's longer than 32 pages, to page 37 of the instructions, which is a separate document than the jury form. The jury form is like 2-3 pages, but the instructions is at least 37. I thought it was 32, but it's at least 37. So with regards to distribution, this was another kind of indicator of where I was like, okay, what are they looking at? How far are they in their deliberation with regards to the counts? But the judge said, referred the jury to page 37, lines 1-3 of its jury charge, and then quotes the language from the instructions. Those lines say, "The word distribution means actual, constructive, or attempted transfer. To distribute simply means to deliver, to pass over, or to hand over something to another person, or to cause it to be delivered, passed on, or handed over to another. Distribution does not require a sale," end quote. The judge rejected other proposed language for both the prosecution and the defense. The defense had suggested referring the jury back to the full set of instructions or other parts of the charge, while the prosecution had proposed simply responding, "Yes." The judge did not respond yes, because the judge cannot be seen to be swaying the jury to do one thing or another. So instead of just saying to them in plain conversational language, "Yes, that constitutes distribution," the judge said the word distribution legally means, and for a lot of you, this is the first time you're hearing it, and you're like, oh shit, yeah. The word distribution means actual, constructive, or attempted transfer. To distribute simply means to deliver, to pass over, or to hand over something to another person, or to cause it to be delivered, passed on, or handed over to another. Distribution does not require a sale. Okay? And now let's quickly talk about count 1, which the jury has not yet reached a decision on, and which the judge has given them the directive per their instructions to continue their deliberations. So count one is broken up into two sections. The first question is just simply, and this is the racketeering conspiracy. How do you find the defendant not guilty or guilty? And then if and only if you find the defendant guilty of count one, which types of racketeering acts do you unanimously find were involved in the offense? Acts involving kidnapping, not proved, proved. Acts involving arson, not proved, proved. Acts involving bribery, not proved, proved. Acts involving witness tampering, not proved, proved. Acts involving forced labor, not proved, proved. Acts involving sex trafficking, not proved, proved. Acts involving transportation for the purposes of prostitution, not proved, proved. Acts involving drug distribution, not proved, proved. If and only if you find the defendant guilty of count one, did the pattern of racketeering activity include sex trafficking of Cassie? No, yes. If and only if you find the defendant guilty of count one, did the pattern of racketeering activity include sex trafficking of Jane? No, yes. And that is where they are stuck. On everything else, they have reached unanimous verdict. On everything else, they have reached unanimous verdict. Tatted Reaperess 1999. I would like to buy the page where UMG said, like the unbothered artist Drake claims to be. Because that is some top tier pettiness right there. Here's for 2 pages. Thank you for the $20 contribution. I appreciate you. All right. Now, if you have asked questions that have not been answered in the chat, now's your opportunity to do so. If you really want to make sure that I see them, drop a super chat. Help us get to that super chat goal. There are 412 people watching. Please hit the like button. Share this on your socials. Just got an email from somebody I don't like. Did you see my face change? I got an email from a colleague I don't really like. Oh, God. Archive that into a folder immediately. Mod Squad co-captain says, please add a red question mark to your question for chat visibility. If you're a member, I will see. If you're a YouTube member, it pops you out. I get to see you. It makes you all bright and stuff. Demetrius says, so if we know that there's at least one juror who is adamant that count one verdict should be guilty, would it make sense for there to be at least one guilty verdict in the other counts, or am I reaching? So, no, I don't think you're reaching at all. This is complicated, okay? This is really complicated, and I'm upset that I don't have a diagram, honestly. To be able to help us visualize this conversation to understand what is happening here. Let's look at the evidence that we have, starting with the note that they technically sent yesterday, but was answered this morning with regard to distribution. Okay. I think that the answer that the judge provides, which is the definition listed in the instructions, compels a yes on the distribution question. Okay. Which is embedded in count 1. And I believe they need to find that the government proved at least 2 of the underlying aspects of the trafficking charge in order for that to stand as a guilty charge. So unless they are just totally disregarding, okay, and nullifying and doing their own thing, they asked about acts involving drug distribution. Was that proven or not proven? And the mere act of handing over the drug is distribution. It doesn't matter if the person asked for it. It doesn't matter if money was involved in the transaction. Per the answer, it's yes. The prosecution did prove distribution. So in theory, they would have, in that underlying issue, answered that the prosecution proved that. Okay. I think there is a distinct possibility. I think this is really one way or the other. I think that they have either found him guilty of 2 through 5 and are stuck on 1, or they have found him not guilty of 2 through 5 and they're stuck on 1. I want to lean towards they have found him guilty of 2 through 5 and are stuck on 1 for reasons that don't have anything to do with the law and have to do with people's personal opinions about the situation. They have to come to a unanimous decision. So I want to believe that they have found him guilty of 2 through 5 because I personally believe that the state or that the government proved its case with regard to transporting people for the purposes of prostitution. But they could have found him guilty of those things, transporting for the purposes of prostitution, and found him not guilty of sex trafficking. And then they're stuck on 1. So I would say if I was going to make a prediction, I would say that they have found Diddy not guilty of sex trafficking, Cassie and Jane, but they have found him guilty of transporting for the purposes of prostitution. And then they're stuck on racketeering. That would be my guess. That would be my guess. Okay, I'm scrolling. I'm looking for questions with question marks. Cass, so logic dictates it's unanimously guilty 2 through 5. I, just addressed that. Hopefully I addressed it well. No, the jury is not sequestered. They're going home at the end of the day. That is correct, nondescript cat. We know they've reached a verdict. We don't know what it is. We're not going to find out until the court determines that deliberations are donezo. And the court has not determined that. And it is very rare when the court receives a note saying we can't reach a decision about something, that they say, okay. They rarely do that. They always say, keep going. Claudia, do we know if any of the charges have lessers included? They don't. As I read it to you, is what it is. I just got to say, Cass, when you say logic dictates that it's unanimously guilty on 2 for 5, no, that's a fallacy. But it would be reasonable to assume that. Anna Molly, I'm so glad. Holy cow, the scrolling text at the bottom, so helpful. Legit. I do what I can, beloved. Hit the like button. Yeah. Yeah. We're at 19 gifts and super chats. Keep it going. Keep it going. Keep it going. Demetrius, you're welcome. And I think based on what happened with juror number 25 yesterday, that it does make sense. So thank you for reminding me. I'll come back to questions in a second. Let's look again at let me get the big version behind the scenes for myself. I can't read that. Okay, let's look at who the jury is. Okay. The numbers next to them are the numbers, that were assigned to them when they initially entered the gen pop of jury selection. Okay. Juror 2 is a 69-year-old man who works as a massage therapist in Manhattan. He has a bachelor's of fine arts in acting from NYU. Juror 5, who is the foreperson, is a 31-year-old man who works as an investment analyst. His hobbies include golf, tennis, and video games, and he described himself as an active church goer. Juror 25 is a 51-year-old man who works as a scientist and lives in Manhattan with his domestic partner. Juror 25 was the person that they were sending out notes about yesterday saying, he doesn't appear to be able to follow directions, Your Honor, and was told, follow directions. Juror 28 is a 30-year-old woman who lives in the Bronx with her mother and brother. She works as a deli clerk at a grocery store. Excuse me. Juror 55, 42-year-old woman who lives in Manhattan with her fiance, works at a nursing home, and said she's not a fan of the news. Juror 75 is a 68-year-old man, 68-year-old man who is retired and previously worked in finance, lives in Westchester County with his wife, listens to old Italian music, and likes to play cricket and volleyball. This is what happens when you get upstate jurors. Juror 116, also a 68-year-old man who lives in Westchester County with his wife and kids, retired lineman. Juror 160, 43-year-old woman who is a physician's assistant and works with elderly patients. Juror 184, 39-year-old man who lives in the Bronx with his brother, a social work program supervisor, part-time security guard, master's degree in social work. Juror 201 is a 67-year-old man who has 2 adult children and works as a logistics analyst. Juror 217 is a 74-year-old woman who works as a treatment coordinator and has a bachelor's degree in sociology. And Juror 230 is a 57-year-old man who works as a manufacturing architect and has a master's degree in mechanical engineering. He was an alternate and was the replacement for the juror who I believe was juror number 6, who was dismissed for being less than forthright about where it was he actually lives, whether it was New York or New Jersey. For folks who are just now joining, I'm going to give you a quick and full rundown. Hit the like button, share this live. Jesus Christ. Just about 40 minutes ago, the jury sent a note to the judge saying that they have reached a verdict on counts 2, 3, and 5, but are unable to reach a verdict on count 1. And they also expressed to the judge that there are people on either side, guilty or not guilty, with regard to count 1, who appear to be unmovable in their position. The judge ultimately sent back a note saying, and I'll give you more detail, you must continue to deliberate. We do not know what the verdicts are in counts 2 through 5, but I have my opinions. He did not. So the judge could have asked them to submit their verdicts on 2 through 5, making those verdicts immovable and only leaving them with count 1. But he did not do that. He did not ask for them to submit their verdicts, insofar as I can tell. So a reminder, jury has reached verdicts on 2, 3, and 5. Count 2 is sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion related to Cassie. Count 3 is transportation to engage in prostitution related to Cassie. Count 4 is sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion related to Jane. Count 5 is transportation to engage in prostitution pertaining to Jane. Count 1 is racketeering conspiracy. My for funsies prediction is that their verdict in count 2, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, is not guilty. And that for count 3, transportation to engage in prostitution related to Cassie, guilty. Count 4, again, this is just my for funsies prediction. We don't have the actual verdicts. Count 4, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, I think they found him not guilty. And count 5, transportation for engaging in prostitution, I think they found him guilty. I want to believe that they found him guilty of 2 through 5, but I'm hedging. Because I did say I thought it was going to be a mixed bag. And I think that's a safe mixed bag to represent based on the jury composition and the issues that have come up in their notes. And that's just my for funsies. Okay. I'm not one of those, I know what's going to happen, because none of us does. Here's the full excerpt from the previously compiled and delivered instructions, which is a document of over 37 pages. Your verdict must be unanimous, but you are not bound to surrender your honest convictions concerning the effect or weight of the evidence for the mere purpose of returning a verdict, or solely because of the opinion of other jurors. Each of you must make your own decision about the proper outcome of this case based on your consideration of the evidence and your discussions with your fellow jurors. No juror should surrender his or her conscientious beliefs for the purpose of returning a unanimous verdict. It is your duty as jurors to consult with one another and to deliberate with a view to reaching an agreement. Each of you must decide the case for himself or herself, but you should do so only after a consideration of the case with your fellow jurors, and you should not hesitate to change an opinion when convinced that it is erroneous, which is probably why he didn't lock 2 through 5. Discuss and weigh your respective opinions dispassionately, without regard to sympathy, without regard to prejudice or favor for either party, and follow my instructions on the law. So the jury went into the courtroom. The judge gave them eye-to-eye instruction. They went back to the jury deliberation room and immediately sent a note saying we're done for the day, and they've gone home for the day, and they will be back tomorrow, 9 Eastern time. Oakley dokley, neighbor. We've got 381 people watching. I have no idea how many likes we have, but hit that like button. And I've not been looking at the screen, so if I haven't answered your question and you have a question, pop it in the chat. But this is where we are. I don't think that this is going to go past 5 o'clock tomorrow. I don't think that's going to happen. If they are unanimous on everything else and they are truly deadlocked on one, which I think they've been deadlocked on since yesterday because that popped up so early in their official deliberation time, and you're, try and start at the beginning of the document and work your way through. That's number one. So somebody put their foot down. And probably in response to that, on the opposition to whatever that person's position is, somebody else put their foot down. And so they moved on and deliberated everything else. They've come to a determination. And now we wait and see how long the judge keeps them locked in a room together, unable to come to a decision. And I do not think that that is going to be longer than 6 hours. I think that's not going to be longer than 6 hours. That's my guess. Nothing has been locked. So technically, they could change their minds. The judge did not ask them to submit their verdict or their verdict. Yeah, the judge did not ask them to submit their verdicts for counts 2 through 5. They simply said in a note, we've come to a decision on 2 through 5, which means unanimously they've agreed on 2 through 5. And they're stuck on the racketeering issue. I'm not the secretary. I don't have the foggiest idea. But I know that tomorrow's the 2nd and there's court tomorrow, and they'll be there tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning to resume their deliberations. Yes and no. Yes and no. But this isn't, we still haven't decided. That's not what this is. This is, we've made up our minds on everything except one thing. You're not going to lock people into a room for 2, 3, 4 days if they're like, we're not changing. If you've got people in there who are saying, I'm not changing my mind. You're not going to do that, because then they will start to resent each other and things will start to get really hostile. And that could affect also the overall verdicts on the counts. So I think either in the morning before lunch, they make up their mind on count one and come to a determination, or by 3, 4 o'clock tomorrow, by about 3, 4 o'clock tomorrow, they send a note to the judge saying, we are stuck. Nobody has changed their mind since yesterday. At which point, he'll confer with attorneys and we'll determine what's going to happen then. But we could get a verdict read tomorrow. Repeating, so. We are 10 teal super chats away from the goal. That's it. They're hung on the government has to decide if they're going to try him again, and they won't. They won't. They won't. I don't think that they would. If they get guilty on anything, and the jury is hung on one thing, I don't think they retry him for that one thing. I could be wrong. The count is not thrown out. It's not thrown out. He's still charged with the thing. The jury couldn't come to a decision. And then it's up to the prosecution to decide, are we going to try this count again? Not a dumb question. Could a mistrial happen over one count, or could that count get thrown out with the verdict on all others? I mean, it doesn't get thrown out per se. It's just they didn't come to a decision. They were hung on that. So the charge technically still, what do you think about that? They technically have to refile the charge. I don't think they technically have to refile the charge of racketeering. I'm not sure. But no, this is not an instance of the whole thing gets tossed out because they couldn't come to a unanimous decision on count one. They couldn't come to a unanimous decision on count one, but they came to a decision on everything else. Then that's what we rock with. Mighty Hattie, hello, beautiful. Thank you for the super sticker. You're welcome, beautiful. You're welcome. Let me look. If he is found guilty of 3 and 5, they carry a maximum sentence of 10 years each. It's his first offense. It's the first time he's been charged with a crime, so doesn't matter how many incidents he's had in his past life, in his life. This is his first offense. So, and I don't know enough about the federal guidelines for sentencing to know what's going to be concurrent and what's not. There are a bunch of different factors that go into that. When I just glanced at them, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. But maximum of 5 years for, maximum for 10 years for counts 5 and counts 3. So he could do a year, he could do 10, he could do 20. We just don't know. But again, that's just for funsies. That's what I think they have probably found him guilty of. And yeah, I would be totally stunned if they didn't find him guilty of at least those things. My whole heart wants to believe that they found him guilty of 2 through 5. But I don't know. I don't know. Hi, Be More Girl. It's good to see you, beautiful. You woman, there is no introduction. I pop this off immediately at the beginning of the live. You ain't got to search for it. I dive right into it, probably answer almost every question you have in under 5 minutes. So you could pop back to the beginning of the live and learn a lot. I said, hello, welcome, shout out, here we go. And that was it. There was no idle chat like we tend to do, All right. Does anybody want to share what they think the jury has decided with respect to what we've learned today? Any questions? I've been up. I went to bed just like by 7 o'clock last night. I was like, I wish I was old, like old, because 8 o'clock I'd be like, good night. Good night. I'd sleep a solid 12, but that's not my life. I accidentally fell asleep way too early, and I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, wide awake. At 4:30, I said, okay, you need to catch 90 minutes because the jury updates start in 90 minutes. So I have been paying attention since 6 o'clock this morning, my time. Claudia says, I hope for all guilty, but who knows at this rate? For real, child. Stormcloud, guilty. On everything. He'll rot behind bars. We'll see. Dropping knowledge bombs. Hello, beautiful. I think the jury decided guilty on 2 through 5, and they're battling count 1. Yeah. So here's my issue. Let's talk again about this battle of count 1. Okay, and the underlying factors. I'm trying to come up with a different word, but I can't think of it. So the underlying components. That's it. For racketeering, kidnapping, arson, bribery, witness tampering, forced labor, sex trafficking, transportation for the purposes of prostitution, and drug distribution. This is why I'm concerned. I said at the very beginning, they could have found him guilty of, or found him not guilty of 2 through 5. Walk with me, okay? I hope I can just go through this rationale to the best of my ability. But I also want to say a very clear caveat that I have personally witnessed many a time jurors in their decisions contradict themselves. Okay. And I think what we potentially have here is an issue of contradiction. Drug distribution. Okay. So my understanding is that the jury needs to find that the feds proved two of these underlying components in order to support a conviction of racketeering. One of those components is drug distribution. If they are following the judge's instructions, based on the note they sent yesterday that was read and addressed this morning, they should have found him guilty of that. They should be saying yes. So that's one. Acts involving transportation for the purposes of prostitution. Now, if they found him guilty of counts 3 and 5, transporting for the purposes of prostitution, they should be answering yes to this question. This is why I'm concerned. Because if we match it 1-to-1, then they didn't find him guilty of that count, of those counts 3 and 5, transporting for the purposes of prostitution, because it should be a no-brainer to then say yes underneath racketeering. The feds proved that. Somebody could also just be in nullification mode on count 1 because they don't want to be the person that convicts this man of something that sends him to prison potentially for life. I would imagine that if this is an issue of contradiction between what they have determined within counts 2 through 5 and then what's happening with count 1, it's because somebody doesn't want to be the person that says Diddy goes to prison for potentially life. So it's convoluted right now. It's convoluted right now, but I think that the explanation of the convolution is potentially a contradiction within the jury on their decisions, which they can do. They can do it. I have seen somebody go to trial for shooting somebody, and they were convicted of shooting this person. Though they were convicted of assault in the second degree using a deadly weapon. There was an additional enhancement that had to do with the gun that could have resulted in this person spending 15 to 25 years in prison. They found them guilty of second degree assault with a deadly weapon. The weapon was a gun because the victim was shot. That same jury would not come to the determination that the defendant used a gun. He served less than 3 years. So I've seen juries contradict. Seen them do that. And it wasn't that they actually, so to clarify, it wasn't that they said he didn't use a gun. They hung on gun. My personal opinion is, because that is completely irrational, you cannot find somebody guilty of second degree assault with a deadly weapon and the victim was shot, and then you turn around and say we're hung on whether or not he used a gun or not. That's somebody nullifying the decision because they don't want to be responsible for sending somebody to prison potentially, which they're not responsible for, but they equate it in that way. Oh my God, this person's going to do life because I decided this thing. No, this person is going to do life because that is what the guidelines for sentencing are. Those guidelines predate you. Nevertheless, it happens is the point. Hi, Broderick Cochran Jr. Good to see you, beautiful. T. Smith 30. I'm feeling exasperated. I need to cleanse my energy due to the U.S. legal issues and the passing of the sham. Yeah, my energy is depleted. I'm sorry, beautiful. I'm sorry. Make sure you're still here on Friday, though, because we're going to celebrate. It's 1 year. Make sure you're here. I want you here. I love this, Stephen Guy. I love this. Stephen Guy says, Google's useless AI says he's been found not guilty of charges 2 through 5. Somebody had to inject that into Google's algo for that to exist. Let's be clear. It's not that goes exactly against what the jury's instructions are. The juror's responsibility is absolutely not to convince their fellow jurors of anything. It's to continue to have discussion in the hopes that somebody arrives at a consensus. And we don't know that this juror wasn't already 100% in line with the rest of the jury on 2 through 5. So you're making an assumption that this juror was like, I'm not convicting him of anything. We don't know that. We don't know that. We don't know what he said. He probably made some declaratory statements, but we don't know. We don't know anything more than what has come out in notes and the instruction that has been sent back. And the jury is being very conservative in what it is that they say. They're not saying this motherfucker over here and this dumbass over here. They're saying there are members of the juror who cannot be persuaded from their positions on this count. But as I was watching the notes, from technically yesterday, but read and addressed today, and then throughout the day today, and I was looking at, again, the jury form that they have to fill out, I was like, oh, they're clipping along. They're really clipping along. These aren't difficult questions to answer. They're not difficult questions to answer. They had some clarifying questions about testimony. They got that information, made a decision, moved on to the next thing. So they're clipping right along in making their decisions, suggesting that they're in alignment on several things, and there's not a lot of friction, except for count one. Oh, God. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Support the document fund. Tomorrow, I am ordering the transcript from the hearing yesterday, Drake v. UMG, because I realized it's not held. It costs $9 a page. Support your girl. Thank you. No, I don't know how many pages it is. Yes, I am getting the condensed version with more than one page on a printable page, but god damn. God damn. Cassidy Collins, thank you for the support, beautiful. The chatter, hello, beautiful. The chatter says, I'm still shocked they agreed on 4 of the charges. Well, when you do, this is why the directions, the instructions say, deliberate dispassionately. Set your shit aside. Answer the questions asked. It's a recipe, and it's designed to be that way so that you don't put your own shit into it, so that you don't put in your own interpretation of it, which is why the jury has asked clarifying questions. That's always a good sign. When the jury's like, wait, did she say that when she testified? Wait, I thought he said when he testified, they said, let's ask for the for the transcripts. You want a jury to do that. You want a jury to do that. So when a jury does do that, it's a very uncomplicated beginner's Tetris. This fits here, this goes here, this fits here, this goes here. It's really not complicated. This isn't murder. Jury deliberating in this case is not overwhelmingly an agonizing situation. Although it is very serious that the defendant may serve life. I don't think that he will. I'll just say I never thought that he would from the gate. Because he is a first-time offender, and because I do think that the verdict is going to be varied, and I think if permitted within the federal guidelines, the judge will use discretion. I do think that if it is a mixed bag, and there is a future sentencing date, we are going to see a lot of people send letters to the court in support of Diddy. A lot of people. It'll feel safe at that point to do it. We'll see all kinds of people send letters on behalf of Diddy. Like, if he's only convicted of transporting people for the purposes of prostitution, are you kidding me? Everybody and they mama gonna send in a letter speaking to what the fuck ever it is that they like about Diddy. Alicia Humpage, thank you for the $10 contribution. Beautiful. Appreciate you. Old school Gemini. Hello. Beautiful. Thank you for the 30-pound contribution. Appreciate you very much. Kago? Mabuse? I hear my auntie. Mabuse. Kago Mabuse. I could be wrong. Spooky Ariel, hello. Thank you for the $10 contribution. I mostly lurk, but I love seeing intelligent women being intelligent and lovely. You bring me joy. Here's a page on me. Thank you. Appreciate it. No, I won't get this money for 2 months. It's fine. Appreciate it. I thought about that after I set up the goal. I was like, I really should have asked people to just donate to Cash App, but it's fine. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. I appreciate it. Let's meet the goal. Oh gosh. Fateless is correct. We appreciate y'all who sit silent just as much as us loud mouths. Appreciate the support. Yep. Appreciate it. $9 a page might make sense if it was printed on fancy paper and is overnighted to you. Child, I was like, $9 a page? For real? Oh my God. But yeah, I'm going to send that in tomorrow. And again, there are several different options, but I do need it relatively quickly. So it is what the fuck it is. I can't wait 30 days. Divine Black Rose says, I think 2, 3, and 5 guilty. 4 not guilty. Uncertain about 1, even though I think guilty. Yeah, well, they don't know either, apparently. They don't know either. Thank you for your prediction. Oh, suck it now. We're close to the super chat goal. Get us there. Yeah, I really didn't think. I said before, it might have been yesterday, that I thought this was going to be 3 days or less. because it's not complicated. You know, if you take out jury nullification, it's not complicated. It really is plug or play. I personally feel like Angie and Shamel, thank you for your support. I personally feel like the jury made its case on everything. I'd be willing to let go of arson. I don't really care. But I personally felt like I felt like the government made its case on all of the charges brought against Diddy. But again, based on the demographics of the jury, I could see them not being able to get behind Cassie and Jane being sex trafficked, because it just doesn't meet most people's assumed frame of reference for what sex trafficking is. And I think, unfortunately, because there are quite a few older men on the jury, and I hope I'm wrong, it is much easier for men to not understand the nuances of coercion. And therefore, it's hard for them to discern between what a woman is willingly participating in and what she is actually being coerced to do. We'll see. I hope I'm wrong. I'm going to Fateless is correct. We got rid of PayPal because no one used it. I just thought about this last night. I am going to have it set up again by Friday for the 1 year live, so that I don't have to see a bunch of people in the chat like I'm in a different country, or I don't have this, or I only use PayPal. It's through GoFundMe, but GoFundMe accepts PayPal. So you will have an opportunity. I'll get your money, okay? Midnight Schnackums. Thank you for the $5 contribution, and you're welcome, beautiful. No, CJ. These are individual counts. They can find him not guilty of racketeering and find him guilty of other things. I just went through a lengthy explanation of jury nullification and jury contradiction in mixed verdicts. So I'm not going to repeat the whole thing, but you can run it back about 10 minutes and get all the goodness. I love it too. Love the let me pay you, ABSA. Okay, beautiful. I'll work it out. I promise. I promise. Spooky Ariel, thank you. I appreciate it, child. I appreciate it. I do. I do. Yeah, YouTube. What is it? It's July. Right. So your contributions from today, I will get in August at the end of the month, I believe. Usually between the 20th and the 25th of the following month, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, they rude. It's rude, okay? It's really rude. Apple is worse. Apple is minimum 75 days. See this displeasure? Yeah. Marshall Irons, serious question on the donation front, seeing as it being discussed. What method, including YouTube steps, Patreon, and all the things, was most advantageous splits for ABSA? Splits? Direct payment. Splits. I'm not sure. I think it's Patreon. YouTube, your super chats I get in full, but I don't get them for, a while. I get them the following month at the end of that following month. Patreon I get every month. And Substack I get every month. Spencer Granger, hello, beautiful. Canada in the house, thank you for the $5 contribution. You talk about me like I'm not here. Yes, I'm here. I'm streaming on Twitch live right now. Cash App and Venmo and PayPal are basically immediate. Yeah. Yep, I'm on there right now. I'm streaming in 2 places. Might add a third. We'll see. I appreciate it. I appreciate your support. We're almost there. We're almost at the goal. So yeah. The other thing that I'm gonna do though, straight up, is because I was like, I'm gonna be referencing Drake lawsuit documents, I think, indefinitely for a while anyway, especially if that motion to dismiss comes back as a mixed bag. So I decided this morning, when I was doing some file organization on the computer, I was like, you know what? I need to get all of these things that I already have on the docket bound and printed and bound, so that I have a physical reference that is bound together, and I can just flip to the tab and find the thing that was in the document or in the hearing and bind all of those things together and just have it for myself as a reference document. So I'm going to do that as well. Not like leather bound or no shit like that. I'm just going to do a simple binding, but then I will have everything together forever, and I'll always be able to easily reference it. Fact check these biscuit heads out here who be lying. Cass, thank you for the 10-pound contribution to the Drake Bitch Fit Fund. Spencer Granger, thank you again for the additional $5 contribution. Appreciate it. Goal attained. Woo! Oh, y'all are so fucking awesome. I swear to God. Y'all are the best. Y'all are the bestest, and I appreciate you. And this was good. Hopefully you feel very well informed. There were other things I wanted to, get to, but I'm tired. I also been getting back on my smoothie grind, so I haven't eaten any real food today, so I can feel myself fading, and then apparently I have to have a phone conversation with somebody I don't like, who I work with. Kim Tillman, thank you for the super sticker, beautiful. Appreciate you. Anything else? Any other questions about what it is that we have learned today. Again, as a reminder, this Friday is the 1 year anniversary party of this channel. We're also going to have a book conversation in hour 2. It will be a 3-hour live. Hour 1, we're going to kiki and talk. In hour 2, we are going to, so hour 1, we're going to talk about the channel, videos you liked, things that happened, blah, 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 blah. Hour 2, book talk. Hour 3, LB Jesus. There's the link in the chat. Live is already set up. Make sure you turn on your notifications. Hit that notify me on that live. And what else? Turn on your notifications. Yes, on the YouTube app and on your phone, beloved. On your phone, make sure YouTube notifications are set. But put it on your calendar. It's the motherfucking 4th of July. And if we are going to celebrate anything about this goddamn country, it's going to be Black women. Okay? Mm-hmm. Yes, child. Yes, child. That's what we're going to be celebrating on this 4th of July. Mm-hmm. We're going to DEI up this motherfucker. Get the book. Bring your notes, because I'm not going to be just sitting here talking about the book. This is finally your opportunity. Finally. Yeah. Your opportunity. We will be inviting some folks to come in live if you're a member. On YouTube or Patreon, you may have the opportunity to come into the live and say a couple sentences about the book, et cetera, during that conversation. Okay. That link will be posted only to members on Patreon and YouTube to be able to pop in, say a few words, Yeah, that's how we're going to do that. You can support the channel, become a member. Oh, I also have Angie Lady. I started working on the 1-year gift list thing. So I've got that almost done. I'll be putting that out as well. So yeah, all the things will be set up by Friday. It's going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. I sure am. I sure am. Yeah, it's going to be good. All right, y'all. Well, that's it. That is, the update. I'm going to let you go so I can find some food and I don't pass out. I will be back tomorrow. As I said yesterday, when I said, I'm pretty sure I'll be here tomorrow. I'm pretty sure I'll be here tomorrow again, beloved. I don't know what time, but you know me. I'm old. I wake up early. I will be up at the point the jury is back at court deliberating. And I don't care if they come to a decision at 7:00 in the morning. Okay. I will be going live to hear what the decision is and to discuss it. If the verdict happens super early during the day, I'll have a live, and then scheduling and everything else permitted, I'll have a live later in the day as well, because there's some other things to discuss that have been going on out there in the world. There is a poll. That I would love for you to weigh in on and answer if you're, so inclined to do so. I'm trying to get the damn link, but I don't. Oh, there it is. There is a YouTube poll about JID's freestyle release today. I only get 4 options with the poll. Don't come for me, but there's a link at the bottom. Make sure you go answer the poll. And depending on, what goes on tomorrow with this damn trial and verdict, maybe we'll have time to talk about what the fuck is going on with JID and a couple other things. So I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful evening. If you haven't already, on your way out, please hit this live. please hit the like for this live and share it with folks so that they see it and get all the goodness explaining all of the things. I appreciate you. Appreciate you helping reach the goal. I appreciate your support for the Doc-a-thon and me and the cats. And I will see you tomorrow. Take care, y'all. Peace.